Hey guys, okay, today we're gonna watch a video from CGP Grey, fairly huge YouTube channel. I found a couple history videos on his channel, so I think I'll probably react to those, as his content's usually pretty much good. Now this video is old. It's an 8-year-old video, so I don't know how. I haven't watched him for that long. I've watched him maybe for the past 3 years or something like that. I've never watched this video of his, so we'll see how much he's progressed since this video released. But it's one of his most popular, so I'm guessing it's a good video. I'm hoping at least it still holds up in terms of quality after all this time. But yeah, it's gonna be 5 historical misconceptions rundown. So I wonder if any of these misconceptions are gonna be similar to Sam Onella's misconceptions video that we watched a while back. But who knows? Anyways, let's go ahead and start watching.
Number 5. Vikings. What would a Viking be without his trusty battle helmet and its impressive horns?
He's talking fast.
The answer is a more historically accurate Viking. Think for a moment about what wearing headgear like that into battle would mean. The horns are just easy targets for your opponent to hit and knock off your helmet.
True.
Or if you strap on your helmet, now your opponent has a convenient lever with which to drag you to the ground and something to hold on to
True.
while slitting your throat. Horned helmets are a terrible idea, which is why archaeologists have never found them at Viking battle sites, and there's no evidence that they were ever used. It was poets and artists, people not known for caring about facts and reality, who gave the Vikings their silly hats during the late 1800s, long after the Vikings could correct their misconceptions.
Yeah.
Number 4. Lady Godiva.
Let's expand on that a little bit on the Vikings and their helmets. The Vikings were not necessarily warriors, even though that is what they've become known for. They were raiders, but it never meant that they went into pitched battles. Or they would try to avoid pitched battles as much as they could. Mainly because they didn't really have the numbers for pitched battles, etc., and that's not what their fighting style was good for. They were raiders. They hit and ran. But yeah, no. Despite being a fairly warrior-ish culture, but mainly traders, at least especially during the time of the Vikings, or what is considered the time of the Vikings, where they were mainly traders and raiders, or at least, well, towards raiders on England and Russia territory, they were raiders. But to the Islamic world, they were mainly traders and such. Anyways, enough of that tangent. They would not, even though they look scarier, they're completely ineffective.
Godiva. The story of this 11th
I've never
century
heard of
English
Lady
noblewoman
Godiva.
is
Well,
that
I've
her
probably
main
heard of her
husband,
in
the Earl,
passing.
raised taxes on the townspeople of Coventry, which Lady Godiva, and not surprisingly the locals, thought were too high. She badgered her husband, and he conceded in exasperation to lower the taxes if she rode through the town naked, assuming that she never would, but she did. Because people don't like taxes, even though their house civilization is purchased, Lady Godiva's story lives on, notably in the Godiva logo and in popular songs. But while Lady Godiva was a real person, and Coventry is a real town, there's no record of her nude ride from the time when it happened, so we can safely assume the story is false. Just as with the Vikings, again, poets and artists are to blame who made up the tale long after Lady Godiva's death. Number 3.
True.
Napoleon. Famously, this tiny general, perhaps to compensate for his short stature, took control of France, greatly expanded its influence, and dubbed himself emperor. Napoleon's official height was indeed 5 foot 2 inches, but at the time, French inches were longer than English inches, so doing the unit conversion, Napoleon's height should have been reported as 5'7" in England's imperial units, which is short by today's standards, but was average or slightly above average in the early 1800s. However, England...
Which, by the way, isn't really that much below average today. I mean, actually, for the modern guy, I guess it is, because I think the modern American is what, probably 5'8", 5'9", so a couple inches shorter of the American average. But for like the French average, I think the French average is still like I think the French average is 5'8", 5'9", too, maybe. I think the American average is actually 5'10", and the French average is like 5'8". Or something. I can't remember. But, you know, it's not. But yeah. French inches They had a weird measurement system back then.
With its eternal love of all things French, didn't care, and went with the Napoleon is so short LOL version of the story in newspapers and cartoons. Meanwhile, Napoleon was busy introducing the metric system to France and the wider world to standardize measurements so this sort of confusion would never happen again. And thankfully, the whole world now uses metric. Mostly, sort of. Number 2. Roman vomit. Ah, the Roman Empire, so great and powerful, but corrupted by decadence from within.
Yeah.
And what could be a better symbol
Sounds
of
about
that
right.
decadence than the vomitorium, where Romans, after stuffing themselves with delicious foods, could vomit them all up again to make room to feast anew. Vomitoria are real, but this idea of them is not, though the confusion is understandable because their name, vomitorium, seems to make their purpose so clear. Even if for some
True.
reason you know Latin, perhaps because you live in a country that insists you waste hundreds of hours of your life learning a dead, useless language, this knowledge still won't help you because the
Jeez, going for the I think Latin is still a cool language to learn. For instance, I'm recently kind of looking into trying to learn Old English. Because why the heck not? I mean, my field of study is Old England, late 800s Wessex and area. So it's like, you know, if I want to look at real primary sources, learning the language would be useful. You know, if you're a historian, you know, it's kind of useful. But also it's kind of cool. At least I think it's cool. Please someone validate me.
The root word vomitum means to spew forth. So what is it really? If you've ever been to a big stadium like, say, the ones made by the Romans, you've already used a vomitorium. This is what the vomitoria are, the passageways that let lots of people enter or exit at once. The people are what spews
I didn't
forth
know
in the
that.
vomitoria, not the contents of the people. Number 1. Columbus. They're so very much wrong with the common retelling of the story of Christopher Columbus that it's hard to know where to begin, but the biggest misconception is that everyone else thought the world was flat, but Columbus was the only guy smart enough to know that it's round.
Okay,
it makes a daring story, but knowledge of a spherical Earth goes back to at least 5,000 BC. That's 6,500 years before Columbus set sail. And that knowledge was never lost to Western civilization. In 200 BC, Eratosthenes calculated the Earth's circumference, and his estimate was still well known and being used during Columbus's time. The argument Columbus had with Queen Isabella was not over the shape of the Earth, but of its size. Columbus estimated the Earth was much smaller than Queen Isabella and her scientific advisors did, which was why he thought he could make it across the empty Atlantic to India. But Columbus's size estimate was wrong, again, just like Napoleon's height because of mixed up units. However, this mistake did send him west to become the first European to discover America. As long as you ignore the hornless Vikings who beat him by 500 years.
Okay, good. Good. I was worried he wasn't going to include Leif Erikson. I would have been upset. I would have been so upset. But yeah. No, that was good video. Good video. There we go. I want the Viking ship. I love Viking ships. They're cool. But yeah. Great video. Kind of still on par with his quality today. Obviously, I think his scripting and because he talked really fast during this video. I think he's gotten better at slowing down and explaining things a bit better over time. But for an 8-year-old video on YouTube, good job. These were fairly more, I guess, general misconceptions. I think most people now, I mean, obviously this is 8 years ago, so certainly times have changed. I think now, like, most people know that, you know, people during Columbus's time knew the world wasn't flat. They knew the world was round. I think most people understand that now. I also think most people understand that Vikings didn't have horned helmets. Because it's not even used in popular culture really anymore. Like in the TV show Vikings or Last Kingdom, the Norse people in those shows aren't wearing horned helmets when they fight. So yeah. Lady Godiva, I actually really haven't heard that story before. I mean, I've probably heard it very briefly in passing long ago, but I don't remember it. What were the other misconceptions? I already forgot. Well, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave a suggestion down below as to what you'd like to see me react to next. Are there other CGP Gray history videos that he's made that you'd like to see me react to next? Let me know. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thank you.